What is up? Welcome into Wednesday, April the 14th edition of Roughing the Kicker, a daily Kansas City Chiefs podcast on arrowheadreport.com. I'm your host, Tucker Franklin, and joining me as he does on every Wednesday to do our mock draft 10.0 already, it's Jordan Foote. Jordan, how you doing, my man?
Tucker, I am good. We are really getting closer and closer to that NFL draft. It is absolutely insane that we are, 2 weeks almost, a little over 2 weeks away from it.
We only have 3 full mock drafts left. So counting this one. So after this one, we only have 2 weeks, and that last mock draft coming out a day before the NFL draft kicks off on April 29th, I believe in Cleveland, Ohio. I believe that's where it is.
Mhm.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've been doing a lot of things trying to get Cleveland back on the map, I guess you could say. A lot of revitalization. Have you ever watched the Believeland 30 for 30?
I have not. You're the 30 for 30 expert here for sure. So if
Yeah.
you like it, then I'm going to have to do it.
It's about, LeBron James, obviously. So I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
like
yeah.
it. I'm a big LeBron James guy. So I liked it. There's kind of about the revitalization of Cleveland, their bad sports past, how LeBron has been able to kind of bring them back to it. And they even had a little bit of baseball success there with Lindor, and they got to the World Series. They get the World Series twice or just once. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I believe once, but don't quote me. It could be twice. It's
Uh,
it's hard to remember when you're a Royals fan who tries not to pay attention to what the Indians are doing, but at least once.
That's fair. Yeah, but for a little bit there, the Browns are really bad. Now the Browns have got a pretty salty ball club, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Indians aren't very good anymore. Cavs aren't very good anymore. But hey, they got Sexland, so I mean, they've got a good little guard combo going on there. So Jordan, appreciate you joining me. As always, these NFL mock drafts are brought to you by the NFL Mock Draft Database, a wonderful site with Denny. We had a call with him talking about the site, what improvements he can do maybe for next year. It's a really good call, really good conversation. I'm really excited to know what he's got going on heading into next season, into the next stage of these mock drafts. We talk about this every week, right? We talk about these tools every week. You guys probably know by now how good of a website and how good of just a research tool that this is. I think that that's probably the best way to frame this site is it's a very good research tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Denny's always adding new stuff to it. He's
Yeah.
always adding new features. He's always adding new context. He's always adding new mock drafts. Follow him on Twitter if you haven't. He is a good follow. He's very prompt with responding. He is quick about adding mock drafts. Like that
Oh
guy
yeah.
just gets after it, and it shows in his product. It's such a good tool.
Yeah, it's only a part-time thing he does on the side too. It's not even his full-time gig, and he's doing this. It's really good. He showed us a little bit of the code that goes involved with it. Oh,
Insane.
it's insane. He's been able to write that code. It's a really nice website, really clean layout as well. That's what I really like about it. But not a whole lot of Chiefs news to dive into, to delve into before we get started on the mock draft today. So Jordan and I are just going to go ahead and get into the mock draft. If you guys are all right with that, I guess. You don't really have a say or a choice because we're recording this before you're hearing it and it's not a live thing for you guys. But to get started into the mock draft, we're going to do something a little bit different. Jordan and I, the past couple weeks, have been doing fictional scenarios, situations that we think could realistically play out. None of them have played out, by the way. Sadly, none of them have played out. But this week, we're going to do something different because we are getting so close to the draft. We don't really know if really doing another situation is going to be very beneficial. So what we've decided to do is just kind of tweak the settings on this a little bit because Denny here with his mock draft simulator, I think it's one of the best ones in the game. It is a living, breathing document, essentially, kind of like the Constitution of the United States. Let's pull out some, seventh grade history right there for you. Seventh grade social studies. That's what you learn there. We're going to be doing the 7 rounds, the 2021 draft, obviously pre-draft order. We'll go normal speed, but instead of the realistic recommended setting, we're going to go aggressive because there's a lot of things that can happen in this draft, and I think it'll be fun to kind of do like a read and react type draft.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always that one or two or even three players that fall, players that get overdrafted, random things that happen, trades that you don't see coming, a potential blockbuster on the move. This year could even be more than that with COVID going on. I mean, the scouting process has been difficult. Teams haven't been able to get face-to-face meetings with Players, that time's been limited to Zoom, stuff like that. Medical testing has been different. Tape has been different with guys opting out or playing and boosting their stock or lowering it. So tons of factors to take into account this year. And I think it's going to make for a fun mock. So let's get into it.
So I went back and forth if we want to do chaotic or aggressive. They do have an ultra aggressive. That's the chaotic mode that they can do. And there are some crazy things. First time I ran it, Justin Fields fell all the way to 31. And Joshua Briscoe said, well, maybe you guys might want to go with aggressive. I think that's going to be. And if you guys want to see us do a chaotic draft, more than happy to do that. I might do one. I might do a stream and just do a chaotic draft with you guys just to see how fun that draft would be and how good it could be. But we're gonna go ahead and just stick with aggressive. I think that it's kind of a good in between of realistic and chaotic, because there are guys that fall and there's guys that you would expect to be there at 31 as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the start draft here for the simulator. If it will load, that's interesting. Oh, there we go. Just got to give it a little extra time. You know how Spectrum is. Trevor Lawrence going number 1. That's not a surprise here. Not a whole lot of surprises because you just went Wilson and then the Ohio State Fields went just right after that. So far, not too ultra aggressive, but that's okay. When we look at 31, Jordan, I know we've had a little bit of a revelation. We've had a little bit of a come to Jesus moment, maybe if you want to call it that, about what actually is going to happen at pick number 31. And when you look at it realistically, do you see a tackle going at 31 anymore?
I think it's possible. I'm no longer expecting it to happen. I mean, for a while I was fully expecting it. Then the arm lengths started to come out, and now I'm like, man, it would be rough, I think, to be expecting that to happen. Now, could that be one of the options on the table? I think yes, but there's only a few positions I definitely couldn't see the Chiefs taking round 1, and it's like interior defensive line, running back, quarterback, tight end, something like that. But
Yeah.
corner, I could see. Safety, I could see, even though I hope that doesn't happen. I could see them taking a linebacker, even though I don't think they're going to. Edge, obviously, and tackle are the two that you really would hope for, and then wide receiver. But man, aside from like kicker, punter, and the stuff I mentioned earlier, pretty much anything is on the table.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you might have seen me do a little bit of, a disappointed sigh while Jordan was talking. It had nothing to do with what he was talking. It was me watching the draft board fall and Jalen Phillips getting all the way to 30, then being picked by the Buffalo Bills at 30 before we could grab him at 31. So you have Phillips at 30. Greg Newsome at 29 to the Packers, Zaven Collins 28 to the Saints, Trevon Moehrig 27 to the Ravens, Kadarius Toney to the Browns at 26, Jaguars picking up Rashad Bateman at 25, Gregory Rousseau, fellow Miami Edge of Jalen Phillips, going to the Steelers at 24, Najee Harris going to 23 at the Jets, Jalen Mayfield 22 to the Titans, Colts pick up Azeez Ojulari, Joke going to the Bears. I don't even want to say his name. You guys know who I'm talking about. J.O.K. from Notre Dame, the linebacker. Elijah Vera Tucker, 19, to the Washington football team. Let's see here. Christian Darrisaw went to the Raiders instead of the Chargers. Usually when we do a lot of these, we see Darrisaw to the Chargers. But at 13, the Chargers picked up J.C. Horn. Not a terrible pick for them, actually. And you had Penei Sewell fall all the way to 9 to the Broncos. So
Wow.
the Broncos went ahead and picked him up instead of, Trey Lance was already off the board. Justin Fields was off the board. Zach Wilson off the board. Trevor Lawrence off the board by the time that the Broncos had a pick. Mac Jones went to the Patriots. So they could have had Mac Jones, and they chose not to do it. So you're probably thinking, Tucker, we don't care who they took. Who's left on the board? Tevin Jenkins, he's still there. Samuel Cosme, he's still there. Jason Owe, he's still there. Travis Etienne, we don't need to talk about him. Terrence Marshall, there's been a lot of talk about Terrace Marshall, not Terrence. I always want to throw an N in there, but it's Terrace Marshall. Wide receiver from LSU, Rondale Moore, Landon Dickerson, Elijah Moore, Joseph Osai, Liam Eichenberg, Alex Leatherwood, Nick Bolton, Asante Samuel Jr., Levi Enrique, Javonte Williams, who is a running back, Creed Humphrey, and Wyatt Davis, Dylan Reduns. I could go on and on. Can't understand how I wrap so long, shadow too short. But
we're
at
done.
31,
Tucker, we're done. Shut it down.
Hey, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to quote up too short, to quote too short right there. Um, it's just what happens when you deal with me. You never know what you're going to get. I'm a wild card, but the Chiefs could also be a wild card at 31 right here. With especially with this board, there are some pretty solid tackles right there. I know people are a little bit worried about Tevin Jenkins' arm length. Same thing with Samuel Cosme. Jason Owe, an athletic freak, is there. Where are you leaning?
I already wrote down Tevin Jenkins on my card. I've been waiting for Tevin Jenkins to fall to 31. I think that I'm really high on him. I know you're really high on him,
Oh,
regardless of if he's a right tackle, left tackle, guard. I just want to see Tevin Jenkins in a Chiefs uniform. The nasty that he brings, the chip that he brings, the developed play that he brings. He tested better athletically than I thought he was going to. I love Tevin Jenkins. He's one of my top draft crushes. I think everyone that is in cheap circles really likes Tevin. And that the fact that he fell here kind of means that I think we have to take him.
did the Chiefs meet with him? Has he been one of those players that the Chiefs met with? I can't
I'm
remember
not
if I
sure.
saw something that he met with them, or if someone was asking if he got met with, or if it was Matt Miller talking about a meeting that he
Mhm.
had with him, and he was talking about the Chiefs in that meeting that he had with him. Anywho, I think Tevin Jenkins at one point said, I think it was with Matt Miller, that he would love to play in Kansas City, and honestly, can you blame him? I mean,
No.
sounds like a pretty great option for me for Tevin Jenkins. So let's go ahead, take Tevin Jenkins here. I mentioned before, there's a video in the graveyard, we could call it the video graveyard for RTK about Tevin Jenkins, where I break down his film. Could release it, might mess around and release it, especially if he gets drafted. Maybe I'd release it then. Who knows? But Tevin Jenkins, 31 overall. What do we look at now when we talk about number 63, Jordan? We got our tackle. What do you think about now?
I think with this aggressive mock, pretty much anything goes. I'm not going to pigeonhole us into a
Yeah.
specific position. It could be safety, corner, wide receiver, linebacker. It could be another offensive lineman. It could be pretty much anything. I'm just excited to see how this board goes, and really with this aggressive mock and the settings we have set up, I think it's going to be pretty interesting what the board looks like and who goes at unexpected times.
Yeah, I was really curious to what Tevin Jenkins' arms were. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, so luckily I had the KC draft guide here right next to me. Tevin Jenkins, 33 and a half for those arms. Not terrible. I mean,
Better
well,
than some.
it's over average of this class. Yes, it's over average of this class. It's under Andy Reid draft pick average of 34 and a
Mhm.
quarter. So, I mean, you pick your poison, I guess.
Yep.
So let's look at 63 here. We got overall board. I'm looking at the overall board. We've got Elijah Molden available there, cornerback from Washington, Javon Holland, safety from Oregon, Afitu Melifonwu, cornerback from Syracuse, Tyson Campbell, cornerback from Georgia, Jabril Cox, linebacker, LSU, Baron Browning, linebacker, Ohio State, Kelvin Joseph, cornerback, Kentucky, Brevin Jordan, tight end from Miami, Jackson Carman, offensive tackle, Clemson. Any of those guys, I know you like Elijah Molden. We've had a couple conversations about Elijah Molden. Haven't really had the opportunity, I don't believe, to select him in a mock draft.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm high on him and Melifonwu both.
Right.
I think it depends on, do you want a day one starting slot corner and move L'Jarius Sneed outside, or do you want Melifonwu, who has all the tools, just needs to keep honing them, has a star ceiling as an outside cornerback? That's a tough one. I think that I believe in Sneed on the outside, so I would lean Molden just because I think that he can fit. He has that safety versatility with the Chiefs. I love Melifonwu. I think that he's going to be a really good NFL player, but I think Molden might be a better fit and maybe kind of allows Sneed to reach his full potential outside, even though, man, some people don't want him to be moved outside. They think if it's not broke, don't fix it at slot. But with his skill set and his physical measurables, like, who wouldn't want to see that guy on the outside? Like, he has
Right.
lockdown corner potential based on that small sample size that we've seen. So I think Elijah Molden might be the pick.
I want to just toss out, play devil's advocate here, I guess, about Jabril Cox. Do you think about selecting another linebacker? I know he's a pretty athletic guy. Could be something fun in the future to
Yeah.
pair with Willie Gay.
Yeah, that's always an option. I mean, it's a future pick. I think that he's strong enough to where he can play a little bit of everything. He doesn't weigh quite as much as I thought he was going to, but he's a good athlete. He might be the best cover. I shouldn't say the best. He's one of the top cover linebackers in this year's class. I mean, he's really, really good he has fluid hips. He can flip them quickly. He can keep up in man. He has spatial awareness in zone. He's just a really smart football player. And I think that plays well with the Chiefs. So I get it. And I wouldn't be upset with that pick. So I'm going to push all of it onto you and make you make the kind of decision there.
Yeah, I think I like Elijah Molden because if you
Yeah.
think about the cornerback situation right now, Brashad Breeland hasn't re-signed. He hasn't signed anywhere, hasn't re-signed with the Chiefs. So I think this could be a nice little fix for that, especially because he would, be here for 4 years and go under that 4-year contract. That'd be nice for the Chiefs, especially if he works out. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Elijah Molden, cornerback from Washington. I'm liking the way this draft is shaping out right now. I think this is really in this aggressive format. You got to go best player available. That was the best player available on this board so far.
Yeah, I think so too. That's two potential day one starters. I don't know if Jenkins is a day one starter, but he profile he projects better as a day one starter than a lot of this tackle class, and he has longer arms than a lot of the tackle class. He has arguably the strongest hands. I mean, that dude is
Yeah.
insane. So I think you've got two day one starters at positions of need so far.
So last week we had a pretty solid mock draft, and the only thing that we wish we would have done is draft a linebacker in there,
Yeah.
kind of a rotational linebacker, depth piece type linebacker. Do you start looking at linebackers at 94, especially when you already have, we took a tackle and then we took a cornerback? Is this now someplace you say, okay, let's look at linebackers?
I think so. It's either linebacker or wide receiver, I think, at this
Mhm.
pick. Not to completely pigeonhole us, but if like Pete Werner is there, that's always my pick. I get the vote for that every time. And then guys like Tylan Wallace, if he's there at wide receiver, that kind of gives you something to think about, at least between those two.
I'm going to take a look at the edge board. I just want to peek at it just to see where
Sure.
we're at in the third round here. We got Rashad Reaver, uh, Deo Odeyambingo. Is that I didn't say that right, did I?
Dio Odangbo.
Odangbo.
It doesn't look like that.
No. I think I try to add an extra ing in there somewhere. I
Yeah.
think I try to go double ing. That's not what it is. Jordan Smith, Hamclair Rashed Jr., Cameron Sample. That's your board right now. Obviously, I mean, Ellerson Smith will be there in the later rounds.
Hmm.
Janarius Robinson will be there. Adi Ogundiji, Chauncey
Where's
Golston.
Dio ranked on that board overall?
Dio is ranked at 110. So
So he probably won't be there at 136.
more than likely, no, but with this aggressive format, you never know. Because let me go back and look at this because I think that Patrick Jones was all the way at 91, Walker Little 86. What was the one I was looking at? Peyton Turner at 81. Jabril Cox went all the way at 79, and he was like 56, I believe, on their board.
Okay.
So he fell a bit. And curious to how it gets selected of which guys fall, which guys
Sure.
don't in this. But Kyle Trask is the best player available right now, and the Chiefs do not need a quarterback. So, and he's not very good, in my opinion, I should say. I'm curious about tight end here. Tommy Trimble's there. I mean, at 94, he won't be there. He's at 101 right now. Chiefs have the 94th pick. He won't be there the next time we roll around the pick. Could be an interesting selection there. Looking at the wide receiver board, Seth Williams, Nico Collins, Jalen Darden. Wow, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. And Josh Palmer, all there. We took Josh Palmer at 136 last week. A guy that we really like. Haven't had any duplicates yet, so that's kind of cool. Looking interior wise, Ben Cleveland, Deontay Brown, Aaron Banks, Kendrick Green, David Moore, all there. Don't need to look at tackles. Spencer Brown is there. So is Deontay Smith. Stone Forsyth also there as well. Linebackers, you do have Pete Warner, you have Monty Rice, you have Derek Barnes, Buddy Johnson. I think that I covered it. I think I covered all the positions that we're really looking at.
I think Pete's the pick, man. You mentioned linebacker, and he has experience at all three spots. He's athletic enough, I think, to fill in it. Will if he had to, but really, I think Sam is going to be the spot for him early on. He has the brain to be a future Mike in the NFL. I think. I'm a huge fan of Pete Warner.
I like Pete too, but in this situation, with Tommy Tremble still on the board, you would still pick Pete Warner over him.
Personally, I would. I
Mm.
just I like Tommy Tremble, but I like the idea of a future starting linebacker alongside Willie Gay more than a future number 2 tight end with Travis Kelce. That's just it's close, I think. But I'd go Pete.
You convinced me. Let's go Pete Warner here at 96. Pete's one of those guys that he's a favorite of the Roughing the Kicker mock draft. He's been selected a few times. I'll have to go back and look at the numbers, but there's a select crop of players that have been selected 3 times in mock drafts. That seems to be the elite number is 3. Dalen Hayes is in there. And that's the only one I can think of right now. But he might be encroaching on that territory.
Yeah, he's a dude. Like I have tried not to rip off on my guy or my dude or anything. I've referred to players as dudes. Like I've been doing that for NBA players for a long time. Like if you are a dude, you're a dude, and that's all people need to know. And I think Pete Warner definitely classifies as a dude in this year's draft. So at 136, man, I'm thinking maybe wide receiver, but I'm intrigued by Kendrick Green if he's still on the board.
That's a good point. So I'll let me give you the overall board.
Okay.
Trey Sermon, running back, not too interested in him. Demetric Felton, running back, not too interested in him. Chris Rumpf the second, the edge from Duke. Ellerson Smith, a guy that we've drafted a few times recently. Lots of running backs still on the board. Chuba Hubbard, also there. Robert Rochelle, cornerback from Central Arkansas. Janarius Robinson, not Robertson, Robinson there. And so is Deontay Smith. When we look at wide receivers, I think this is a really interesting option when we look at wide receiver. Amir Smith Marset is there, and he's projected at 144. The Chiefs do have the 144th pick. Still could be there. There's plenty of players that rank ahead of him still on the board before the Chiefs would go from 136 to 144 that could go, and we could wait it out for him. And if you want to do that, if we look at interior offensive line, you have David Moore, Trey Hill, Royce Newman, Drake Jackson. So Kendrick Green has already gone off the board. Sadly, I do like Kendrick Green. He's a nasty dude.
Yeah. David Moore is fine, I think. Was he the first one or was it Dan Moore at the top?
David Moore is the first one. Yes,
Okay. I'd
from
be fine
Grambling
with
State.
that.
I do like that. I like going here, David Moore, maybe interior, and then looking for Amir Smith Marset. And worst case scenario, you do still go wide receiver. You can go Tamorian Terry. I think Tamorian Terry will still be there because he's still on the board. I'm trying to think what other position the Chiefs really need to address here. Wide receiver is probably the big one. We got the linebacker, got a cornerback, got a tackle.
Probably an edge.
An edge, yes, but
Yeah.
when we look at the edges that we like at 188, Adi Ogundeji's there. That's who I always have my eye on. Ellerson Smith could be there at 144 too, if you want to take a look
Yeah.
at Ellerson Smith.
Where is Simi Fehoko? Where is he on that wide receiver board? Because that's my if we pass
Simi.
and pass and pass, he's my guy later on.
185 is what he ranks on this board.
Okay. Yes.
So possibly at 181, we could
Yeah.
take a Simi worst case scenario. So right now, would you rather go interior with David Moore? Is what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking that. And then you have your 2 future starting your left tackle potentially or guard or whatever, and then a center. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I think so too. Let's go David Moore here. Computer's running a little bit slow today. That's all right. I think it's a combination with that and Spectrum, but we're going to go David Moore from Grambling State. Hey, man, Chiefs do like the Pro Bowl. I always call it the Pro Bowl, the Senior Bowl guys, and he was at the Senior Bowl, had a good Senior Bowl as well from a small school. Usually in these later-ish rounds, we'll see the Chiefs go with smaller school guys. It's a 4th-round pick, and you know what happened the last time the Chiefs took a 4th-round guy from a small school?
Yep, turned out to be a pretty good player, at least so far so good. So I like David Moore. I think he's a future starting center in this league potentially, and this is a pretty good mock so far. And you just made a face, so I need to know what's going on.
Had a little bit of a run on wide receivers there in between these picks. At 137, no, that was Trey Sermon. Never mind. At 139, Cade Johnson went to the Patriots. At 142, Amir Smith Marset went to the Packers. Tamorian Terry is still there, which a fine pick. I like Tamorian Terry a decent amount, probably more than the average Joe does, but Ellerson Smith also still there. What else here? Well, we don't really need a linebacker or cornerback. Safety, you got Caden Stearns, Richard LeCount, Divine Below. You got options there. Really have the offensive line shirt up. When you look interior wise, I don't know how much we're looking at interior offensive linemen because that room is starting to get pretty crowded as is.
Yep.
Kairis Tonga, Bobby Brown, Darius Stills, Teradale Slayton. You've looked at most of those guys, right? You've looked at Tonga, Brown, and Slayton. So a
Yep.
lot of guys on the 100. So go check that out on arrowheadreport.com. Jordan has been cranking those scouts out. What do you think here? Do you think Tamorian Terry, or do you want to go Ellerson Smith?
I think Ellerson Smith, and then at 175 we can look at Terry or Fehoko, and then we can kind of go from there. That's my thought process.
Yeah, I'm with you because I think that when you look at these classes, you look at the wide receiver class, there's a bit more to choose from than there is the edge class when it gets further down. So
Yeah.
I like Ellerson Smith. He checks the boxes, I believe, off the top of my head. I think he is a box checker for all of
Mm-hmm.
the good stuff. So
Yep.
Ellerson Smith, let's go ahead and draft him. When I say the good stuff, I obviously mean the Steve Spagnuolo prototype. I just couldn't think of it in the moment. But that's what we are working with here. So who did we just pick? I already forgot. Oh yeah,
Ellerson Smith.
yeah. Whew.
It's okay. Short-term memory loss is a legit thing.
It is, and especially when you play football and have had concussions, it is definitely a thing.
Yep.
So we are looking at 175 here. Looking how this board is going to shape up. Here we go. We're on the clock here. Let's look at the overall board. Joshua Kando. Kando.
Kane Dope. Mm-hmm.
I should have said that with way more confidence than I already did, but that's okay. Joshua Matterbebe is there, another wide receiver, pretty solid, still there. Did we take him last week? Yes, at this exact same position too.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Divine Diablo, Joshua Bledsoe. I mean, looking at wide receivers, let's look there because I think that's really where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at this here, you have Josh Matterbebe, Jonathan Adams Jr. from Arkansas State, T.J. Vasher, Marlon Williams, Simi Fioco. That's your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of wide receivers. Fioco,
Okay.
you could probably get him really next round
Mm-hmm.
if you really want to gamble. Looking at tight ends here, maybe Noah Gray, the kid from Virginia, Tony Pelosian, and Matt Bushman. Nothing really moves the needle there for
Yeah.
me. I don't know if you want to look at secondary again because you do have the kid from Virginia Tech, Divine. You have Joshua Bledsoe still there, but it's
Where's
looking
Tyree
like
Gillespie? Is he still on the board, or is he ranked
I
ahead
think.
of Bledsoe these days?
Well, he remember he dipped below Bledsoe for a little bit,
Yes.
and he's back above Bledsoe. So
Okay.
he's gone. I think he went in the third round. I
Okay.
remember seeing his name, but we've already got a cornerback, we've got a linebacker, we've got interior, we got edge, we got a tackle. I don't know what else there is to get.
Yeah. Is Kairis Tonga still on the board, or did he go too?
Oh, Kairis is probably gone, but Teradale Slayton is there.
He's interesting. He's interesting. Is Bobby Brown still there?
Bobby Brown's gone. The only interior
Uh,
guy that I know on this board is Slayton.
okay.
Lorenzo Neal, but that's not the fullback.
That's
It's
just a name. Yeah.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, man, I guess we could go with Tadar.
We
I
could go
don't
Adi
know.
Ogundeji, but
We
then
could
you double up
always
on
go
edge.
Addy. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've done that combination like 50 times in the
we
past few weeks.
have.
So we just can't. We just can't.
No, we
But
can't do that one.
man, that's a tough spot to be. Look at the I'm trying to think, man. Safety doesn't appeal to me. Linebacker doesn't. Look at
Mm-mm.
cornerback, I guess.
You have the kid from Oregon. I'm gonna butcher his name, Dio Mador Lenore, and then you
Uh-huh.
have Rashad Wildgoose, who's a guy that you're gonna be
Okay.
looking at here soon. Keith Taylor, DJ Daniel, Cameron Bynum, Elijah Griffin, Bryce Thompson.
I like Bryce Thompson. We could double up on corner and then go with Fehoko at 181.
I think Bryce Thompson could wait till 207.
Where's he at on
Um,
the board?
241.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. We can wait for
Mhm.
Bryce. Okay.
Yeah, we can. So man, here, do we go wide receiver? I know we took Josh Matterbaby last week at this spot, and I don't love that doing that again.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I
Maybe we
mean,
go semi here and then revisit the board with the fresh mind and 6 picks, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I guess that's what we're gonna do. Well, fine. I'll take
Yeah,
Simi
we're stumped.
Fioco here.
Okay.
For the sake of something different, go check out Jordan's 100-100 feature on Simi Fioco. It is out. Just go to that main page. If you go right to arrowheadreport.com, you will see the landing page for every single 100-100 Jordan has done. Click on that. You can Command F, Control F it, and you can search the names you want to see. Jordan's pretty much done everybody that I know of. He's done, and if the Chiefs don't select any of the 100, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have to
Yes.
throw hands with the front office because that's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
at 181, let's take a look here. Fresh board. Josh, wait, yeah, both Joshua Kando and Joshua Matterbaby are both on the board. So is Divine from Virginia Tech. Joshua Bledsoe also on the board. Um, man. Um, there's just not a whole lot appealing to me right here in this moment.
Let's look at the tackle board just for fun. Just to
Okay.
see if any names jump out.
I will say this. Alaric Jackson, I was there. The kid from Nebraska's who
Yeah.
is ranked ahead of him, Brandon Jameis, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah.
He is there as well. I wouldn't hate Alaric Jackson. Robert Hainsey's there too. Dan Moore. Um, I like Dan Moore. I've had him as what we did a podcast episode one time, and I said something about Dan Moore.
Yeah,
And it was like,
you're a Dan Moore guy.
I am. Well, it's because he works with Duke.
With
So
yeah.
uh,
We could go with Dan and then go with Bryce Thompson to close it out. I'd be fine with that. Or we can go with is Tadaro Slayton still on the board?
to Daryl Slayton. Let's see. Yes, he is to Daryl Slayton.
Let's go with him.
The only thing that I have reservations about is with the interior defensive line is how many people there are now in the interior defensive line.
No, that's fair.
That's the only thing I have reservations about. But I mean, if you think about it,
How many are nose tackles though? One.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You have a billion defensive tackles and then one nose tackle. But like you said, you can only carry so many. Like, are you going to invest in? Would that be 6 total interior defensive linemen?
I mean, it's
Jones,
going to look like Saunders
Reed,
gets cut at that point, probably.
Saunders, Wharton, Nutty. That'd be 6. And kind of the best man wins out. I mean, that's an option, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm cool with Slayton.
We can go Dan Moore. I'm gonna let you flip the coin and go with Dan Moore or Slayton.
No, we're gonna go Slayton then Dan Moore. No, we're gonna go Bryce Thompson.
Yeah. Tucker was gonna say a naughty word on the podcast.
I caught myself though, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
Let's go Dan Moore.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Tucker,
I'm going Slayton.
On 3, you're just gonna click what you're gonna click, and we're gonna move on.
I'm clicking Terradale Slayton.
Okay.
I already did it. We're too nice to each other to assert our dominance. So Slayton, he's a big body. He's a good nose tackle, and I think you make a good point in saying that he is a nose, and the Chiefs really only have 1-0/1/shade/ right over the center tech run stuffer, and I think Slayton could be that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm penciling in Bryce Thompson as we speak, just because, man, in the 7th round, you can't do better than that. Like, I really believe that he has starting. Tucker, did he go? You're making a face.
No, I just selected him already.
Oh,
I just started
okay.
picked Bryce Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I was going to flip my computer over if Bryce Thompson somehow went, because a certain someone said that we could get him at pick 207, and we did. So
hey, now
it's all good.
We did it. We got him. And I know you're really high on Bryce Thompson. I believe you have a 100-100 out about him, correct?
I sure do.
Okay.
Yep.
So go check that out. If you're saying, oh no, who's this Bryce Thompson guy? Well, go to arrowheadreport.com, click on the 100 and 100 fancy graphic we got up there, that nice little logo shield. Click on that. It'll take you to the page. Command F, Bryce Thompson. It'll be there. You just read it up. See what Jordan has to say about Bryce Thompson. I like him. Good little cornerback that the Chiefs can go with. We did double up
Yep.
on cornerback there. Oh, well, this is a pretty defensive heavy draft, actually.
Yeah, and it's a good one. I think you have your future offensive lineman. I think you have a developmental X, and then you have a future starting linebacker, a guy who, if any mid-round edge can develop into a good player, it's Ellerson Smith.
Mhm.
Future starting potential with Bryce Thompson, and then some nose tackle depth with Tadero. So lots of good picks. And Elijah Molden, I mean, he's a starting slot
Yeah.
corner right now. So this is right up there with last week's draft, man. We have been cranking out some quality drafts lately.
Yeah, we really have been. And I like that the first two picks could be day one starters. Oh, with
Yes.
Jenkins, it's a little bit of a question mark, but I still think he could come in and contribute on day one. This
Yep.
is probably more of a situation where you take Tevin Jenkins here and you try him out at right tackle probably first and move Lucas Niang to left tackle. Because Lucas Niang does have the arm requirements. He's 34 and a
Mhm.
quarter. So it would not shock me at all if Lucas Niang is the left tackle come day one if they
Yeah.
don't sign somebody, I should say. I really think that they will sign either Villanueva or Okung after May 5th. I think that'll
Mhm.
probably be when that story drops. So you're going to want to be staying into arrowheadreport.com for that. We'll have you covered with all the news you need to know leading up to the draft and even after the draft and heading into the offseason. Jordan, I appreciate you joining me for this mock draft. Do you have any final thoughts?
I just think it was a banger. That's all I got to say. I think we might have outdid ourselves here.
I liked the aggressive mode. The aggressive mode
Yeah.
was fun. Maybe next week we can try a chaotic before we really rein it in and get really serious
Yep.
pre-draft and do okay, what do we think the Chiefs are going to do type draft.
Mhm.
I think that would be a nice little palate cleanser before
Yep.
we go fully serious.
Yeah, I think so too. The chaotic just sounds fun. Just the
Hmm.
word chaotic and doing that mock. I can only begin to think of guys who will fall to the Chiefs at 31. Like, is it
Right.
Kwity Paye going to fall to the Chiefs at 31? Is Zach Wilson going to fall to the Chiefs at 31? Like, is Sewell going to fall to the Chiefs? And who's going to go super early compared to the board?
Right.
So, is Bryce Thompson going to go in the third round? Like, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I think chaotic is something we should lock in for next week.
If people are going to fall, there's got to be guys that rise, right? So I
Yep.
mean, that's just the way that it goes. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun little thing to do next week. Just kind of a nice little palate cleanse. So Jordan, once again, appreciate you joining me. Go follow him on Twitter at Footnoted. Stay up to date with him in his 100 and 100 series. Got some good guys coming this week. Some deep cuts that you're gonna want to know coming into the later rounds because the Chiefs got a few late round picks. They got 2 4s, 2 5s, and a 6. So I mean, you're going to want to know about the depth of this draft in a lot of these position classes. That's going to be really important. Jordan's got you covered on the guys that you need to know about. If you're going to want to watch this draft on all 3 days, like we're going to be doing, we're going to be glued to our TVs for 3 days just like us, you'll be in the know. And this is
Yep.
all for free on arrowheadreport.com. So Jordan, appreciate you joining me. You can go follow me on Twitter at Tucker D. Franklin. Stay up to date with the show. Tomorrow, I will be with Math Bomb, the founder of the Relative Athletic Score. We're going to be chatting about how he came up with it, what the score is for people who might not know it. I'm sure you've seen the graphics retweeted all over Twitter. We're going to have a little bit more of a deeper conversation about it. So until then, I'll talk to you tomorrow.